Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Praise be to Allah alone. We all praise Him and we seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. May the best peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to another special edition of Ask Huda. Tonight it gives me a great pleasure to host my very dear friend and great scholar, Dr. Hatim Al-Hajj. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Hatim.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Dr. Hatim is the Dean of the Islamic University in North America, formerly known as Sharia Academy of North America. Today, inshallah Azza we'll enjoy answering some of your questions, beginning by the pending questions from the previous episode. Of course, I will take the easy ones and I will hand over the tough ones to Dr. Hatim.
No, we'll do the opposite.
Okay, we believe we have already a phone call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, the phone numbers are area code as usual 002-0238-555-248 or 249, and we'll go ahead and answer some of the questions. I guess we'll miss the phone call. Abdul Rahim had a question, and the question was quite interesting. She said, if somebody makes dua for another person, as I stated repeatedly, that there is a hadith that says the Prophet ﷺ said, if somebody prays for another person, Allah the Almighty will appoint an angel to say to him, Ameen, O Allah, answer, وَلَكَ بِمِثْلِهِ, which means, and O Allah, give him likewise. So you asked health for your friend, for your brother, for your sister, for any Muslim, you get a similar benefit of the dua. So the angel will say Ameen, and you too will get a similar part of this dua. The question was, does this apply to the dead as well? Sheikh Hatim.
If someone makes dua for someone dead?
Yeah. The package of when you make dua بِظَهْرِ الْغَيْبِ.
If he makes this dua for a dead person,
Yes.
does he get a similar reward?
Yes.
For sure. If he makes dua for mercy for a dead person, he gets mercy as well.
And that's why we encourage every Muslim to include the entire ummah in his or her dua by saying رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. By that, you get a reward for praying for every single believing men and women. They are in billions from the time of Adam, peace be upon him, until the day of judgment. So every time you pray for a Muslim or a Muslimah, you get a reward of praying for them. You get an angel saying, Ameen, O Allah, accept his or her dua. And the angel furthermore will say, وَلَكَ بِمِثْلِهِ, and may Allah give you similar to what you ask for your brother or your sister, whether they are alive or dead. Okay? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Abrar from the case. Hey, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, Abrar? Good.
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, it's excellent to see both of you there. May Allah bless both of you with Jannatul Firdaus.
Ameen. Thank you so much. Jazakallahu khairan, Abrar.
Well, yeah. Sheikh, I have two questions. One is a very short one. That is, while you're praying, what if by mistake you giggle or you remember something funny due to waswas or whatever? Does it affect your prayer?
Okay.
Second question is a bit detailed one. That, for example, you're in a room where they're praying, like as if you're in a hotel and they have a small room, and you're praying, and the Imam starts praying, and you're in the second or third rak'ah, and the room is full, and there are people standing next to the Imam on his right side. The only space left in that room is maybe one or two spots on the Imam's left side. He didn't stand on his left, because as far as I remember, that it's only allowed to stand on his right, but I'm not too sure about that. So these are the two questions. Hope.
Okay. Let me rephrase your second question, and inshallah Azza will answer both of them. Dr. Hatim is asking about where does the Imam have to stand, in the middle, or where exactly? and the followers, as they come in order, should they line up to his right hand side, to his left hand side, or should they keep balance and make sure that the imam is still in the middle?
Well, the imam should be in the middle, and if people pray behind him, if you have two people behind him, they should make him centered. If they are praying next to him, one stands to his right, and then the next stands to his left, right, left, right, left.
Yeah.
So
the
that
common
it's balanced out.
the
But
common
right first
understanding
and then side
of
left.
Lining up to the right means you begin by the right. Then, if it is not balanced, the person who would come next would line up to his left so that the imam will be centered in the middle.
No,
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Not as some people may understand that we have to fill up the first row all the way towards the right until the end of the masjid or close to the wall, then we start lining up to the left. No. Make certain that you keep the imam in the middle. Of course, you don't have to measure the distance, but by your eyesight you enter and you see that there is plenty of room to the left, go ahead and stand in the left. That would not diminish your work. Giggling or laughing in the prayer for a reason or another, does this affect the prayer? And furthermore, as you know, according to some of the madhahib, that effect may extend to the tahara as well. What do you say about that?
Alhamdulillah. Well, if someone giggles, first of all, the hadith that is reported in this regard about al-qahqaha, which is laughing in the prayer, is not an authentic hadith. Secondly, it would not be even a correct extrapolation from the hadith to invalidate the wudu by laughing, because if it invalidates anything, it would invalidate the prayer only. But the hadith is not authentic, therefore a little bit, like if someone was sort of overwhelmed by some thought and had a little giggle in the prayer, and did not really interrupt the rhythm of the prayer, and did not really,
For sure.
did not compromise the integrity of his prayer, then it's okay. Then he should proceed with his prayer.
So it does not invalidate the prayer if it was just mere smiling, but laughing and enjoying listening to a conversation.
Well, certainly the prayer is not meant for laughing or eating or talking or any of that. So anyone who does this, it would be his prayer would be invalidated. But if some little sound came out of him because he was sort of overwhelmed by a thought that is a funny thought, and some little sound came out of him, but he didn't compromise the integrity of the prayer intentionally. He tried to get himself back.
So if he resists the urge of laughing, no problem.
Yeah.
But if he starts laughing,
certainly, then
okay.
That's not.
I just remember that as we were praying Maghrib, you recited قَدِ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, successful indeed are the believers. And the first trait that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the successful believers with is الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ, those who tranquil and have khushu' in their prayer. So the person, when you stand up in a prayer, you make certain that you're away from any disturbance. You will not be praying next to a TV set, radio or MP3 player or somebody who's talking. And those who are around a person who's praying, they must lower their voice so that they would not interrupt his prayer. Jazakallah khairan. We have Sister Saba. She's been waiting for a long time. She's calling all the way from Canada. Assalamu alaikum, Saba.
Wa alaikum assalam. Barakallahu feekum.
Wa feekum.
Hayyakallahu Sheikh, I have 3 questions. My first question is, at my husband's workplace recently, one of his bosses new bosses came in, and he is a very racist person based on our nationality. So we are encountering that problem very much. I would like to know a dua that you can say, that I can say for my husband, especially pray, or like a special dua the Prophet would have recommended. And please make dua for us.
Okay.
My second question is, Sheikh, that if a person is earning and he is an Agha Khani and he is working very hard, but he has a huge debt, can you pay interest money to get his debt off? Not for his food, only to get his debt off.
Okay.
And my third question is, Sheikh, is for my aunt. She's my maternal aunt, but she does not have anybody, no relatives and no surviving members. she wants to know the house that she lives in after her death. The only surviving members of the family are my aunt's paternal aunts, sons and daughters. So should that inheritance be divided between sons and daughters or only sons? That's my 3 questions.
Okay. Sister Saba, with regards,
3 questions.
Saba, with regards to your second question,
Yes.
you're talking about a person who wants to assist another to help him to settle his debt, to pay off his debt through paying
Yes.
him from his
Yes,
interest
yes.
money, or the person himself who collected an interest on a money that he saved or deposited in an account in a bank, in a conventional bank.
No. He basically he has borrowed money from lenders and collected a huge debt. So he did not have enough money to go for his food or living. So what he did is borrowed money on loan. Now the debt has accumulated. He does not even have the money to pay his debt back.
Okay, then
So can we use the interest money to pay to the person's debt
Got it.
towards his debt?
Okay, got it. Thank you so much. As far as the easy part, as I promised, there are beautiful dua such as Allahumma kfinihi bima shi't. Oh Allah, protect me against him as you wish, or whatever means that you wish or desire. It has been reported in a few hadith and a few incidents. Allahumma kfinihi, and the pronoun will be ikfinihi because it's singular. That's his boss was giving him a hard time because he's racist, prejudiced, or whatever. The most beautiful dua in any difficulty or hardship is Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Sufficient indeed for me is Allah, and He is the best disposer of all affairs. And La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah as well. There is no mighty, no power but with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These wonderful supplications are most useful in situations like that. Shaykh Hatim. Now somebody is in debt. He is eligible for the zakah. He's eligible for helping him via the mandatory charity and the voluntary charity, obviously. But can I pay him the interest which I collected unwillingly because I have to put my money in a bank and now there is an interest which I want to get rid of? I don't want to give it in a charity, but somebody who is in debt, can I give him the interest to settle his debt?
He can certainly give him the interest if he's not the person who's going to benefit from this money. If the one who earned that interest is not the one who will benefit from his money, or his household, or people whom he needs to maintain his dependence, then he can give it to other people. It will not count as charity for him. It will count as a form of riddance, takhallus, riddance. He will get rewarded for this because it's the right thing to do, to get rid of this money, but he will not get rewarded for it as charity. And it will be halal for the person who will receive the money because the money itself does not get tainted. The money itself does not become in and of itself haram. But the means of acquisition would determine whether the money is halal for me or not. So if unless there is a stolen property or some property that's wrongfully seized from its owner, then this property itself has to go back to the owner. But if it is not, if the first acquisition was not through this act of theft or wrongful seizure, then the money itself does not get tainted. If I acquire it through interest and I give it to you, it's haram for me, halal for you.
So we're talking about whether the money itself is mutaqawwam or ghayr mutaqawwam, whether the money itself is prohibited because it was collected via theft. So the earning is haram and the money is haram. I don't have an access nor power to dispose it because it's not money. It's not mine. Nor is it considered as money. But due to the fact that we have certain people who are living in the West where there is no Islamic banking, they have to keep their money in the bank. And we told them, do not leave the interest, collect it, pay it to any Islamic organization, to the poor Muslims, to an orphanage, or towards da'wah purposes, but do not save it and leave it to them. So we mean that it is also permissible to assist the very needy and poor Muslims, even through settling their debt if they are overwhelmed with debt. Right? Jazakallahu khairan. Jamshid from United Arab Emirates, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Brother, I have got one question.
Please go ahead.
Actually, I was just sitting with a few of my friends, and there were some non-Muslims as well. So they were just asking one thing, about this satanic verses. I'm not talking about this Shaitan Salman Rushdie. This is before the Prophet, at the time of the Prophet, when the Quran Majid was revealed, initial time, that there were some verses revealed by Satan, and they said it's a long story that say it was not included in the book which we have got right now, and it was some compromise made by God and the Satan that the intersection will be accepted and so on and so on. I don't know whether you have heard it about or not.
What is the question exactly, Brother Jamshid?
The question is the satanic verses. This is a long story. The Prophet was...
I know. What is the question then?
The question, is it true or not?
The satanic verses?
Yeah.
Okay, this person is judged as an apostate. He is a murtad. And whatever is mentioned or listed in this book is mere lies. And I'm not allowed even to purchase the book, nor even to waste my time reading any of this filth. That's the bottom line. Okay? Wajazakum. Thank you so much. Suhail, KSA. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Suhail.
How are you, Sheikh?
Great, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking.
Sheikh, I have two questions.
Go ahead, please.
Sheikh, my friend, she purchased a car for 1 lakh rupees. The actual cost of the car is 3 lakhs. But since she's paying an installment, she has to pay 3,75,000. So is this transaction halal?
I didn't get the question. The transaction, you said that she paid some amount and she still owes 3 installments. But the currency or whatever you mentioned is not clear to me. Can you please explain furthermore?
No, she purchased the car for 1 lakh rupees.
She purchased the car for one what?
The car is 3 lakhs. 100,000.
Okay.
Rupees. Okay, the actual cost of the car is 300,000 rupees. So, since she will pay in installments, she will pay 75,000 rupees extra. So, is this transaction halal?
Suhail, that depends on the nature of the transaction. I'll let Dr. Hatim explain 2 different issues. An issue of paying extra due to the fact that you have to pay interest, which will be calculated whether it's a lot or a little. And the other case, which is selling the car initially with an entirely different price, even if it is higher, but without interest. Dr. Hatim, please.
Alhamdulillah. Well, with regard to the issue of deferred payments, transactions with deferred payments, the vast majority of the scholars allowed transactions that have deferred payments. There has been a minority that prohibited this because of a particular hadith in which the Prophet forbade 2 sales in one, but the hadith does not refer
to the deferred
payments per se, according to the very vast majority of scholars. So deferred payments is okay. However, you need to look at 2 things. Do we have a third party in this transaction, or we don't have a third party? Is it just the seller and the buyer? It's between the seller and the buyer.
Is there a lender in between?
Yeah. So
who's charging interest?
Yeah, basically that's it. So if you have a third party in this transaction, then we will need to look into what the third party is doing. If we don't have a third party in this transaction, then between the seller and the buyer, do we have 1 contract or 2 contracts?
Correct.
Is it like a sale contract and a debt contract, or it's 1 contract in which the car that is worth $300,000 in cash will be given to that person for $375,000. The bottom line is, if you agree on one of these 2 forms, $300,000 in cash or $375,000
in
installments, if you agree on one of these 2 before you sign the contract, then you're fine.
The problem is when the salesman or the company or the car dealer owner says the car worth 300,000 rupees, for instance. And this is all what he has to say. Well, I don't have the cash. That's fine. I would only charge 5% interest. So it will end up 350. That is haram. But if I buy the car initially for the price of 375, as this is the solid price which we agreed to from the beginning without a mention nor stating at all the issue of interest, then that is lawful. Is what you're trying to say?
If he mentioned the issue of interest, then I would correct the transaction. I would tell him, don't talk to me about interest or not interest. I want to get this car over 12 months. How much would you sell this car to me for?
We're talking, of course, if you have an access to that. But in the States, for instance, no car dealer would tell you, okay. Rather, they have to say it is worth 300,000, but with an interest rate of whatever it will come up to. So that form is prohibited. We have two ishaqs, one from United Arab Emirates and one from Nigeria. I will begin with the one from United Arab Emirates as he called in the order. Assalamu alaikum, Ishaq.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Thank you for waiting.
Thank you, Jazakumullah khairan.
Wa jazakum.
For your kind service. I just wanted to ask one small advice for my daughter. I'm an Indian working in Dubai, and she has just completed her schools, and she's very much interested in learning Islamic studies with in Arabic language, so that we can understand from the original text of Quran and Hadith. The problem is we have in Sharjah University, but the courses that directly teach Arabic. But she has learned her studies with English medium, and we ask her your advice, since you are in the field of dawah and you know many institutes around the world, and I wonder her advice, your advice.
Are you guys looking for e-learning or?
No, she wants to attend the class by like a normal.
Okay. Jazakallah khairan. I'll answer you, inshallah. Abu Abdurrahman from KSA. I guess we lost Ishaq from Nigeria. Abu Abdurrahman, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair.
Wa jazakum, Abu Abdurrahman.
I have one question. I work for a company who provides a 401k benefit. It's a retirement benefit.
Yeah.
However, that retirement benefit is run by a fund investor who only can invest in 6 different funds. The problem is we don't have control of where that money can go. It can basically go in anywhere from regular bonds with interest, or it can go in mutual funds. But we don't have control over the fund manager. He can basically wake up one day and decide to invest in a company which we're not allowed to invest in. These are the only 6 funds that are available for our retirement plan. If we don't invest in any of these 6 funds, then the company will not do any match.
I got your question about Abdurrahman, and that's in the...
We end up losing the money that we don't put in this fund for retirement. The question is, I have not been investing in any of these funds so far, and I've been working in the company for several years. And the question is this a safer approach, or is there a way around it where we can pay part of the money that we get back to purify it?
Okay. Dr. Hatim, that's your question.
That's a matter that would be controversial, so I don't know what Sheikh Muhammad will say about this, but I'll just say, I'll state my position, and then he can correct me. The idea here is that to look at this issue. It is not an issue of one individual. It's an issue of millions of Muslims in the West and the East and in so many places. Because that type of retirement plan, whether it's 401k or 403b or similar retirement plans, that's pretty common. And the companies matching your contribution is also pretty common. So if I tell you to not invest or to not contribute to this retirement plan, then if I want all the Muslims to not invest in this retirement plan, it would be losing billions of dollars to those companies that will not match the contributions of Muslims. due to this, I would say that if the company, usually when people ask me about this, I would say that if the company does not match, don't worry about this particular retirement plan. Go and have your own portfolio. You can have your tax-deferred retirement plan by making your own portfolio, and you talk to your accountant, and you'll be able to figure this out. But if there is
like
matching,
in the States, you can even send it to Amana Fund or any other fund where they say or claim that they are investing in halal investment.
Absolutely, and I was going to come to this. But if your company does match, then I would want you to try as much as you can. Also, with the help of the rest of the employees, the Muslim employees or Muslim workers in your company, to really press your company to put on this
Especially
list.
he's calling from a Muslim country, from a very Muslim country. So it's sad to hear that.
Okay, I didn't get the name of the country anyway. But what I'm trying. But the thing is, you can press the company to choose Amana or to choose a mutual fund that is an Islamic mutual fund, that is Sharia compliant mutual fund. And many people, like in the States, I have workers in meat packing factories who press their companies, and their wishes were answered.
And in this country, there is plenty of halal mutual fund.
Yeah, so I think that people can try to do this. If in worst case scenario you are not able to do this, then my position, my take on this is that you go ahead and you invest in some of those mutual funds, and you choose the ones that are least malignant, that are best, in terms of being high risk. Being high risk usually is safe. Because the low risk mutual funds, low risk portfolios usually have a lot of bonds and government bonds and fixed interest investments that you should try as much as you can to stay away from. So choose something that is in the technology sector, something that is as far as possible from
Unfortunately,
harm, and then purify later.
Some of our brothers who work in certain countries have no say whatsoever, or else they will be deported. So the issue of prison, we'll get back to that after we have a long list of waiting list of phone calls, but we need to tackle this furthermore. Awal from Nigeria, assalamu alaikum, Din Bilqais. Go ahead, Awal.
How are you, Sheikh?
Go ahead, alhamdulillah wa shukrillah.
I have two questions for you, Sheikh. The first one is, how do we know that Allah is happy with us and is also pleased with us? How do we know that Allah is happy with us? And the second question is, when Allah...
Yeah.
We found that...
I lost the first part of your second question. Yeah, what about it?
Hello?
I hear you now.
When Allah says in the Holy Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, Prophet Muhammad, we have not sent him. Where do the jinns and all creatures get their hadith?
Awal, unfortunately, your call is not clear. The second question, I only got the ayah of Surah Al-Anbiya, but I don't know what is the question pertaining this ayah. If you can call again after the break, I will appreciate that. I'll have to take Sister Bilqais before we go to the break. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you, sister?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. How are you, Sheikh?
Great, go ahead, please.
Alhamdulillah. I want to ask two questions. My first question is as regards apostasy. How do we relate to a friend who has committed apostasy? Do we abandon the friend, or what do we do?
Okay.
That's one. Yes, and the second question is, in Nigeria, where we don't have Islamic banking and we bank in normal banking, interest accrue on our money. What do we do with this interest? Knowing fully well that we don't benefit from it Islamically, how do we treat this money?
Your second question was answered 20 minutes ago in the beginning of the program. Okay, but inshallah we'll see if we can tackle it just for the sake of time. Otherwise, maybe next episode, inshallah, we'll handle this. Okay, brothers and sisters, we're past due to take a short break, so hang around, stay tuned, and we'll be back, inshallah, in a couple of minutes.
In your standpoint of view, are there specific or certain criteria to choose your spouse or a partner, to marry or not to marry? Maybe that's the question. Do we revise the quality of performance of our treatment between the family members as fathers or mothers? As they say usually, it's not what you say, it's how would you say it. Wouldn't you like to be a good storyteller for your kids? Neurobiologically speaking, child abuse and emotional trauma causes scars in the brain of the child, and this might be not easily healing. What's the exact job description of a father? Is it clothing, payments, and feeding, or other important things? Well, I think the job description of a father is merely giving him love and care, self-confidence, giving him sense of security, and checking for the points of strengths to strengthen them. What about potty training and its planning? Oh yeah, actually, it's a state, it's a condition. Fatherhood is not a body or a person, it's a state. Are you a good or skillful designer for the policy and the long-term plans of the life of your kids? Join us every Wednesday for family issues.
Please, brothers and sisters, in particular brothers, husbands, divorce is the last resort.
Even when I was given the topic, the art of divorce, I was thinking, why are we talking about a divorce?
As they say in management, do you take serious decisions when you are angry? No one is taking a very serious decision in his life, maybe in his business, while you are angry.
A divorce happening every 6 minutes.
We are not talking about enjoying the divorce, but we are talking about certain steps to be followed in order to avoid divorce or minimize the possibility of divorce or minimize the consequences of divorce. Any divorce taking place have many ill effects. So we would like to minimize those ill effects.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. Dr. Hatim, Sister Seba from Canada's third question was about her maternal aunt who does not have any relatives but some paternal. I missed that part exactly if you've got it. Do you have an answer to that inheritance acquisition?
As far as I heard, she has like a maternal aunt or a paternal aunt that has children, and those children are brothers and sisters. Do the brothers only inherit, or the sisters would inherit as well? The paternal aunt has kids, and those kids, some of them are males and some of them are females. Do the males only inherit, or the females also could inherit? Anyway, so those cousins that are related to the deceased via their mother are not going to be considered the paternal family that would inherit the rest, which is asaba, that is paternal family that inherits the rest if the deceased does not have others, or if there is extra after giving the ones who will take fixed shares. They're called the fixed shares heirs. If they're given them their shares, the rest of the money will go to the paternal family. If there is no paternal family, then the scholars disagreed whether the rest of the money will go to the state Baytul Mal or will go to the relatives that are not paternal family, but rather related to the family through rahim, which is ulu rahim, like kinship. In this case, they will inherit. Both the males and the females will inherit because they are related to the family through to the deceased through the mother, and that's according to the Hanbali madhab.
The shares of the males and females will be equal in that case, or is it للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين?
In this case, the closest to this would be the one who is yurathu kalala, the one who does not have either direct ancestors or descendants, and the family, like his maternal siblings, will take equal shares. Both the males and the females will take equal shares. The maternal siblings of a person who does not have ancestors or descendants will take equal shares. This case will be the same as well, because they are related to the family through a female. So the males and the females in this case will take equal shares, the siblings.
I just wanted to bring
according to the non-Hanbalis, it will be Baytul Mals. There is probably no Baytul Mal in where they live. It will be the community. So the Muslim community will acquire, according to the other madhahib, the inheritance of the deceased.
Jazakallah khairan. I just intended to tackle this question, even though I know that many of the viewers will find it hard to comprehend the answer, in order to confirm that, please, for future questions pertaining inheritance, your questions have to be presented in writing, so that will explain it in details. So inshallah, keep that in mind. Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Hatim, for your effort in trying to explain this. And I also wanted to add that the cases in which that females inherit equal shares to the males are much greater than the cases where the male would inherit double the share of a female. And also, the cases where a female will inherit more than a male in inheritance are much, much greater in number than the cases where the male will inherit double the share of a female. Inshallah, we may discuss this in some other time. Zaid from United Arab Emirates.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum, Zaid.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I have one question.
Go ahead.
Does my wudu get invalidated if I change my baby's diaper or clean my son who is 3 years after he has used the toilet?
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
The son is 2 years old. Okay. I will elaborate on that. Muhammad from Jordan. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you?
Wonderful. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking. Muhammad?
I have one question that concerning to this borrowing or lending money.
Yeah.
The question is that sometimes, normally, there is a devaluation in the money also in certain currencies.
Yeah, of course.
So if I borrow money from someone, and the value of that amount is equal to linked with dollar or the gold, so after 5 years, if I'm going to return, so I should be returning the same amount, or I have to value it with the dollar at the time of when I borrowed?
Okay.
That's my question.
Okay. Jazakallah khairan, Muhammad. Very important question. I would like to go back to Brother Ishaq from United Arab Emirates. Question was about his daughter who has finished her degree, already finished her education, and she's very interesting in studying Islamic studies in Arabic. Would you like to give her an advice?
You're more traveled than I am, but I guess the advice would be to send her to some place where she can learn Arabic, and there probably would be places around you that would teach Arabic before she goes to college. To get her enrolled in, you can even get her enrolled in a program that just teaches Arabic, and then after she gets the language.
Talking about traveling in the language, it really amazes me that there are hundreds of thousands of Muslims who are living in the Middle East, in the Gulf region particularly, some of whom have spent a decade, 2 or 3, 30 years or more, and they do not speak a full sentence in Arabic. Why?
That's
because simply they have no interest in learning Arabic. In addition to local have started speaking English, perhaps Urdu too as well, like everybody else. So there is no need. And that's why I paid close attention to the question of Ishaq, that his daughter has this interest. That's something quite interesting, and we should applaud that. As Dr. Hatim said, you should begin by learning the language, learning Arabic. I personally believe that if I want to study, it doesn't have to be in a systematic school in order to get a degree. If I'm interested, like if there is a center like Al Huda Center or Kalima Center, there are many Islamic centers in Dubai and in the other Emirates, since you're calling from United Arab Emirates. If any of them have regular shuyukh who teach Islamic studies, you take course on another in Arabic, that would serve the purpose. In addition to e-learning, I just mentioned that Dr. Hatim is the Dean of Islamic University in North America, where mainly we teach online and a distant learning for those who don't have access. But there are campuses and Islamic universities in Emirates. You can sign up with any of them. First step is learn Arabic, along with learning how to recite the Quran and memorize as much as you can of the Quran, and studying the Hadith in Arabic, of course. If you're determined and you have a strong intention, along with sincerity, then I bet you in 6 months, inshallah Azza Jal, you will be able to understand what you study in classic Arabic, of course, not the slang or the street language. I would like to remind you with a very great glad tiding. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man salaka tariqan yabtaghi bihi ilman, sahhala Allahu lahu bihi tariqan ila al-jannah." One who takes a path in order to seek knowledge, particularly the religious knowledge, which will draw you nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will make that person's path to paradise easy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of us to enter heaven. Ameen. Comfort from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Sheikh?
Great. Alhamdulillah wa shukrullah. Thank you for asking.
Sheikh, please, I have one question. My question is, what is the position of wine in Islam? Any type of wine? Is it fruit wine? Any color red wine? Just any kind of wine? That's my question, Sheikh.
What kind of wine is it again?
No, Sheikh, there was a controversy between me and my husband. Somebody gave us some gift of red wine and the rest of them, and he wanted to take them. I tried to talk to him. I said, no, I would have to ask him. I would have to ask first before he goes ahead to take it. It's a grape wine.
Let me ask you this. Are you talking about alcoholic drinks with a red?
No. There is no. No, there is no alcohol in it actually. It's just a fruit wine.
So it is called wine, but it's not alcoholic?
Yes, that's what they call it. And that's why I have a problem with it.
Okay. طيب, Dr. Hatim? Okay, well, let's take this last phone call in order to be able to answer those pending questions. Abu Aisha from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you, Mr. Salah?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Abu Aisha. Go ahead.
My question. Hello. I buy one house in India and I paid them all the amount. And regarding the service and maintenance, they took from me a certain amount and they said they will put this amount in fixed deposit, and from this interest,
Got it.
they will run our service.
Okay.
So is it permissible or not?
I got your question. Thank you, Abu Aisha. Jazakallah khairan. Zaid, she changes her baby's diaper. She mentioned that he is 2 years old. And that would require the person to wash the private of the baby, 2 years old. Would that invalidate the wudu?
Alhamdulillah. Well, it doesn't invalidate the wudu according to the very vast majority. There are a few variables here. Some of the scholars make a distinction between the front and the back, between the private parts in the front and the rear or the anus. Touching the anus, according to them, would still invalidate the wudu. Some of the scholars make a distinction between one's own private parts, and some do not make a distinction between one's own private parts and others. According to your question, this will be problematic only according to the Shafi'i madhab. It will not be problematic according to the majority. And my position is the position of the majority. I don't know if Sheikh Muhammad would agree or not. My position also goes as far as saying that even touching one's private parts would not invalidate the wudu unless there is some lust involved.
That's why you concluded the opinion of it would not invalidate her wudu, because you believe that if one touches his own private, that would not invalidate his wudu. Well, we take a different stand based on the hadith, and that's accepted. I believe personally in this case, if the person touches his own private deliberately with the palm, then it would require a wudu. Similarly, if the child is 2 years old, but I would definitely respect your view or my good teacher. Jazakallah khairan. Muhammad is asking about, he has a logical question, which we all present all the time. He says there is a difference between cash, banknote, and gold. If I give somebody a loan of a golden coin, 10 or 20 golden dollars, and a year later he gives me the 20, the value actually, if it increases or decreases, it maintains a market value. But if I give him in cash, and he mentioned the dollar, there is some sort of depreciation. Who encounters this kind of depreciation, the lender or the borrower?
Well, the bottom line is Islam did not force you to give him the money in cash. You can give him the money in gold, and that would solve the problem. But if you give him the money in cash, you will have to pay him back in the same
amount,
currency, the same amount, the same everything.
Yeah. I like what you said in the beginning. Nobody forced you to give. As a matter of fact, given any charity, you receive a reward for that. But lending somebody a loan, you receive double reward, because you're not giving something extra, or rather you're giving something that you are in need for it, but you give precedence to somebody who is maybe desperately in need. So you may get it back, you may not, and accordingly you get double reward. Thank you so much, Dr. Hatim. It really gave me a great pleasure to have you in the program tonight, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family, brothers and sisters. Unfortunately, once again, time is slipping by very fast. And we came to the end of tonight's program. Until next time, I leave you in the care of Allah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate